guys, so welcome to this episode. In this episode you're going to be seeing the back of the unit get painted from the pea green it's currently in all the way up to gloss blue. You're going to be seeing a lot of corridor welding work and stuff as well like that, and also us putting up the mammoth task, which is the gutter.
Yeah, so on top of that we've also got like dreaded window to go in. We've done all of that, so I can guarantee it's going to be in this episode. So yeah, so what we're going to do, start off with, we're going to take a little bit of a montage to the back, where Michael's going to talk you through it a little bit to do with some of the corridor sections that come off, some of the rot, some of the rust, and some of the work that's going to be done on those corridor sections. And yeah, then hopefully we'll get a dreaded window fitted probably next, and then yeah, the fun, exciting task of this gutter, as well as starting a little bit of that corridor work. Because obviously you're going to see there are some bits that need to be done on it, and I'm going to take you through the start of that long journey. So yeah, let's get into this episode. Let's start off with a quick montage and let's get to it.
Right guys, so a bit of a different filming angle this time. So as you'll see here, I'm at the corridor end of the unit, and this is the bit that's come off the back, sort of the mounting plate. So it's going to need the top chopping off here, quite conveniently where it's obviously been joined in the past, because it's got excessive rot. The sides are in good shape, so they can be cleaned up. And the bottom is going to be replaced as well, just because it's getting quite worn, and I'd rather nip that one in the bud, and maybe a little bit of lower sort of half replacement down there. But both sides are in good shape. It's just the top and the bottom that need replacing on this, and then after that it's just all the corridor components that go back together that hang off them, new springs that have been made, hangers, bushes, and then obviously the new canvas. And I'll show you the faceplate in a minute. Right guys, so the actual corridor faceplate here is the next task as well. So thankfully it's in pretty good shape. It's just got a bit of surface rust on it, so a needle gun and a wire wheel will sort that out quite nicely. I have identified another welding job though, which is, the camera focuses, there we are. In there, it's worn out of shape a little bit, and I've noticed on the opposite side, down the bottom, it has been welded before, so I'm going to have to weld that and then shape it just to give it back some wearing room. So I'll have to do that nice and carefully, and then obviously this linkage will have to be cleaned and greased to make sure that all works nicely. But then apart from that, this bit is relatively the least complicated part of them all. Right guys, so here we are at the penultimate window on 51412, and something that's not been seen on YouTube before, I believe, which is fitting window rubber to one of these pesky suburban units. So this window rubber will fit types, or classes 127, 117, 118 I believe, 122 bubble cars, but not 121s because they have the outer window frames like 115s. So be careful, you can get caught out. So basically we've opted for the COH Baines window rubber, as that seems to have good reviews. So we've gone with that. I got it in a bulk order with a few other DMU groups, just because it makes it cheaper. So if you're going to do some of that, then I'd recommend you buy it with your mates who also are silly enough to buy DMUs. So here is the inner window rubber. Basically, if you take a closer look at that, it clips into the window frame around here. So we'll fit this first. I can link the part numbers below should you require them. So basically we start by fitting it at the top in here, clips in. It's a bit of a fiddly job, but once you get the knack of it, it's okay. I found doing it off a ladder is probably the best way to do it. Obviously a A scaffold can be used also, but I think for dexterity purposes, a ladder is quite nice. Gives you a bit more freedom of movement. As long as you make sure you're safe, it is not an issue. Safety is key, people. Fine, if you bend it back up on itself, it sort of opens the legs, and then you can clip it in that way. Just make sure you can hear it have a sort of a satisfying click, a faint click, just so then you know it's locked in. Right guys, so now you'll see I'm at the end of this window, thankfully. What I need to do is get my trusty snips. They're just like some things off Amazon, just a Stanley blade. Just helps you get a nice neat cut, because you want to try and get this as even as possible. Always give yourself a little bit of excess. That wasn't the straightest cut, but hey ho. Give yourself a little bit of excess because you don't want to run short, because obviously the window rubber will expand and contract going forward. So you just want to snip off what you need. Give yourself a little bit extra and just sort of force the extra in there somewhere, because it will help when it eventually shrinks over age. And there we go, that is the inner window rubber fitted. We haven't used hot water for the inner window rubber because it doesn't really need it. Even when it's cold, you can get away with it. So what we have done though, despite it not being cold today, but just for ease of use, is put the outer window rubber in hot water, because it just makes it clip in a little bit easier. So basically what we're going to do next is put the window in using like a suction thing, and basically lift it into place. I'll have my glamorous helper here just to help me and take my shouting and swearing when things don't go right.
Yeah, we'll have to bleep that out. That happens a lot, surprisingly enough.
So basically what we're looking for on this is a kite mark, which it has in this top corner. You're probably not going to be able to see it, but the kite marks are great because they take a little bit more of a beating if you accidentally hit it. If you hit the ones without a kite mark, they do crack when you're about 3/4 of the way done, and then that does make you very angry.
Yeah. And only sometimes as well. So a bit of a Russian roulette.
So any sort of external marks, like, I don't know, from people who have welded the unit in the past, I try and put them outside because it just shows which way the window has been in the past. So window goes in like so. This will be a testament to any fabrication works. Does it fit?
Don't look at me.
Oh, and we've just unclipped the inner window rubber, and very helpfully. So it's just sort of things you need to look out for. So that's all clipped back in now. I'll get hold of this. If you just let me take hold of it. There you go, slide that in there. The window fits in nice and snug, so if I go with my suction cup thing now, please. So basically now this will get suctioned on. When you're fitting these windows, you're going to need a set of these glazing paddles. They'll help you shim it from which way you need it to shim. A little hammer, a little Timmy the mallet, you know, something that's plastic or rubber that's soft, so you can hit the window rubber in without damaging it or damaging your window even worse. Yes, I have broken a couple and it is not fun, but that's why we have spares. So this is the outer window rubber. That's what it looks like. So basically this little bit sits around the bodywork, this big bit clips around the window. So what I normally tend to do is measure this side out first, roughly. Might be the wrong way to do it, I don't know, but it's worked for me the whole unit, so I'm just going to stick with it. Measure it out. I prefer putting them in from the bottom first, because you can sit the window in it as such. So Johnny picks up the window. And then just need to get that sat on the bodywork, but also accept the window. So if you want to put that down, please. That'll then sit in there, nicely done. Then what you need next, because it's a little bit dry, is your squirty bottle of washing up liquid. And not to trip over the window rubber, because that is not fun. So squirt around there. Make sure you've got a nice gap between both sides, so I might need to shim that over slightly. So you just want to make sure there's a nice even gap on both sides, which there is. Get your little hammer, screwdriver, and then basically it will clip in the frame. And you'll see it. It does make a bit of an unnerving sound, but it does clip in. So we'll go about halfway with that one, just so we don't overdo it. Then we'll go with our other way. To make it easier, throw your glazing paddle on the floor. If you do have to hit it several times, sometimes you can rip this rubber. It's not the end of the world if you do, but it's not ideal, so try and avoid it. Unfortunately, sometimes it isn't avoidable. But just get the window in as quick as you can while the rubber's still a bit warm. Also lubricate the rubber as well. Anything to help it sort of slide in, it will dry itself out and clip in nicely. So there we go, that's the window rubber fitted around there. Now we go around the other side. And just rinse and repeat, but obviously snipping it this side. Then we have our glamorous helper again. Step in and save the day. And what we want to do is again get our snips. Snip off our excess of window rubber. So probably about there. Let that drop to the floor. And just continue to tap it in. So I have to snip a little bit of excess off there. And then tuck the rest in. Which can be a little bit difficult. You've got to just try and see how much you can snip off. There we are. And that is a class 117 window rubber fitted. This also works on classes 122, 127, and a variety of other suburban units, minus 121s and 115s, etc. And that is the COH Baines inner and outer rubber fitted with a kite marked window.
So now you've seen that, and that's actually, I mean, we've had windows that have given us far more pain than that. But yeah, if you do, for whatever reason, break one of these, you will probably break an unkite marked version. And what will probably happen is it will probably split into about 3 or 4 pieces because that isn't safety glass. That shows how old these are, is that some of the windows that are still in them, I mean, well done to them, they were the windows before safety glass was, you know, mandated. So hence why they break into 2 or 3 pieces. If it's safety glass, obviously it will break into like thousands. But now what you're going to see is you're going to see us tackle the back a bit more. We stripped the buffer beam, or you're about to see us strip the buffer beam. And also we're going to put the first coat of the high build undercoat on the back as well, because you saw us pea green that last episode, I believe. So yeah, we're just making progress in all the right areas now. So getting this last little bit done, you know, and then onto that back, and yeah, it's a good day for DMU restorations. We're like coming to the end of it now. It's such a relief. So yeah, let's get on with that. So as you've just seen, we put the blue on as well. And another little update you would have seen as well is we obviously stripped the buffer beam, you know, a very important job. And these exhausts have had some treatment. So I'll just go over that quickly. We stripped down the buffer beam with some wire wheels because it was very light paint that was on here. That then had some rust converter, then first coat of anti-corrosive black primer, and then second coat of anti-corrosive black primer. We didn't film them because we were too busy filming some of the other stuff that you have either seen or you'll see in the next video. And we would film them going black gloss, but the black gloss hasn't arrived. And basically I will have finished editing this video that you're watching by the time this gets done. So that will be done by the time you see this video, but won't actually have been filmed. So yeah, that is that. And then with the exhaust, you can see they've gone silver. They were very rusty. I mean, expected when you just leave something outside once the paint's burnt off of it because of exhaust fires. So we put some rust converter on that. Then we put some anti-corrosive black primer like this stuff on there. And then we've gone along with some 750-degree silver paint. Complete overkill for the purpose. But yeah, now what you're going to see is you can probably see it just over there. The gutter is up, but we're going to take you through all of that. So yeah, let's get on with that. So now that you've seen that final window get put in, what we're going to do now is we are going to fit this gutter. Now we've done this once before and we came up with quite a good method, and it's pretty much the safest method that we can think of doing this, which is we attach lifting ropes and then we use the hinges as like lifting points, and we bring it up section by section along, because there's only 3 of us and there'll be 10 points, one for pretty much each door, or 9 points, sorry. And then we'll lift it up, and because the gutter is so flexible, we can lift up, you know, 3 ropes, which is about 3 doors worth, so 5-ish meters, I reckon. And we lift it up by a foot, then we go along, lift the next 3 up by a foot, and then lift the final 3 up by a foot. And we keep doing that until we get it to just below the top hinge. And then what we do is we will then open a door, put it on the door as we open it, and then we'll go along and do that. And that's the best way we found, with a whole length of gutter, the safest way to get it up onto those doors and then get it at the right height, because then we've got clamps, and then we make basically a clamp guide rail to make sure that gutter doesn't go anywhere. Everyone in here is aware that we're doing this, so there shouldn't be any passers-by. And yeah, then we get it up, and then we've got to get it on, really. It's one of the more difficult jobs, and it takes about a day to do. So if you're in a fortunate enough position where you have got an entire length of gutter, allow yourself about a day for it. So yeah, that's what you're going to see now. And yeah, it's just always a long day when you do these, we found. So, and at an estimate, say a couple of 100 holes need to be drilled through the weld, the cant rail, you know. So yeah, that's what you're going to see now. We're going to see that get lifted, and then I'll give you a little bit more of an overview when we're up there of actually a little bit more of the intricacies with positioning, getting it in the right place, how to fit it, what we do to fit it up there to get all the holes drilled, and then how we'll mastic it on, etc, etc. And then we've got the exciting job, hopefully we'll do it this episode, of doing those last welds. So as you can see here, we've left the bolts, the last four or five bolts on the end of the cab gutter and the dome gutter. Those holes need to be drilled as well, but we will then get it all in place, get it all affixed, and then we'll come along and do the final weld. There won't be any preheat on that, because the preheat is designed to give a bit more strength to the aluminium, which in this case we shouldn't need, because actually it isn't going to be under any flexion or anything. It's more just a watertight seal. And I know that there might be some people that think, you know, silicon's easier, but welding is more permanent, and, you know, for us at least, we've decided to go with the metallurgic bond rather than a cork or something like that. So that's just the way we want to do it, because at the end of the day, if we can do it that way, and for us it's going to provide a better life for the gutter, that's how we want to do it. So that's then what we'll do. So yeah, you're going to see this, hopefully a satisfying time lapse of it slowly going up and up and up, and we'll get it on the doors. So yeah, let's get on with that. So you see me now on a bit of a cramped scaffold, and I haven't even got Michael up here yet. So going to be a fun couple of hours. But what you saw there is lifted it up. You know, it's very controlled. It's not hard. It just takes, you know, a couple of hours with some people with good communication. So lifted it up. As you can see, we've obviously, you know, scratched the paint, and this is why we do this before we put the final coat of paint on, because you get the odd scratches. You know, it's very difficult with something, as you probably saw, it bends a lot, you know, and it moves about. So, but got it up to the door height, and then at the very end of that time, which might have caught it, basically this side's painted white, so it's white side up, just leaning on this edge and this edge, and then we just rotated it by about 90 degrees and got it into the position you see it. And then along every door there is a clamp that you might be able to see, or you might be able to see it right at the end of the time lapse putting clamps on. So on every door there's a clamp, and then that basically will clamp this flange here to the cant rail and the bodywork that's in front of the cant rail. If you've seen any of our rebuilding of this, you'll know what I mean. And then basically 10 clamps. They're not in the perfect position because there does need to be, it will need to be raised up slightly over each door. But at the moment it's just holding itself there, and it's the kind of thing that you go at one end of the scaffold, you look down at it with one eye and you go, right, that bit needs to go up. And you do all of that before you start drilling holes. So yeah, but we also, as you can see here, need to finish these. We need to drill these holes. So yeah, now what you're going to see is you're going to see two men suffer on a scaffold drilling approximately 300 holes, because there's about 5 holes a foot, and there's about this length of gutter is about 60 foot long. So yeah, roughly 300 holes. Some areas of the gutter, because of infuriating repairs and mild bodges that have been done before, they've got other holes just drilled in, and for peace of mind we usually fill them with a bolt even if they don't need the clamping force there. So yeah, you're going to see two men suffer drilling all these through, and yeah, then we'll take you through then the next stage of putting the gutter on, because then you have to kind of undo all your work to then do it all again. So because we're not putting mastic behind here yet, so we'll come along, we will drill, you know, 5 holes, then we'll put the bolt in the 5th hole, and then we'll drill another 4 and the bolt in the 5th hole. And what that does is that gives enough clamping force that basically down that end, we're not, you know, if we move this, we're not going to move it along, you know, basically we're going to, as we go along, put the gutter in its final place. So hopefully none of the holes should move. And they didn't move on the last one, on the last side. And then when we come along, you basically will take this off, we'll take you through it, then putting all the mastic on and whatnot. And then as we come along, we'll do hole by hole by hole by hole. So if you keep it clamped on, a hole down there, let's say for whatever reason it's been clamped on and it's bowed out, that curved length is longer than when it will be clamped down. So if you just did it freehand, or like you didn't put any bolts in any of the holes, you might get to an end down there where you've been pushing in on a bit that has bowed out, and you pushed in, and what it's done is moved, you know, it's moved the hole, you know, 1/2 mil the wrong way. So that's why we do that. So, you know, come along, do a couple of holes, bolt in the 5th hole, and we just, an arbitrary number, about every 8 inches to a foot. And so yeah, that's what you're going to see. It's going to be 3 hours of just pure drilling. But it gives the drills a workout. So yeah, that's what you're going to see. And yeah, let's get on with it. Probably one of the more boring jobs on this, but a massively, massively essential one. Right, so as you've seen, we've now basically fitted this gutter. A couple of details. Went through quite a lot of drill bits on this one. I think we did on the last one. But a useful skill to have is to be able to sharpen drill bits, because then you can, you know, get them nice and blunt, and then, you know, later on you can go back and go through. So in this case, we had a few cobalt high-speed steel drill bits. We had about 3 of them, and we also had about, I think, another 5 normal high-speed steel. And we went through 8 in total. Went through 3 cobalt ones, blunted them, snapped one, because as we come through on some of these, they're right next to luggage racks, and if the drill binds up, then sometimes you unfortunately snap it. But something to bear in mind is that you might go through a lot of drill bits, because there's 300 holes. Not to mention, with when you weld, there is a certain area, basically as the heat goes out, certain parts of the heat affected zone become slightly harder. So you're not just drilling through mild steel, you're drilling through an equivalent harder metal. It's not crazy hard, but you know, it puts wear on drill bits that a little bit quicker. So if you are doing this, get yourself probably some high-speed steel cobalt drill bits if you're doing like a whole length of a vehicle, because you know they lasted probably about 25 to 50% longer when they didn't break. So, but they only broke because they got jammed in things, and then so did the normal high-speed steels when they got jammed in things, annoyingly. But it's quite hard knowing when there's no reference holes to knowing roughly where your luggage racks are, roughly where your pillars are, because of course you don't want to drill a hole directly into your top hat section, because guess what, you ain't getting a nut behind there, and then you've got a hole in your DMU that you've somehow got to make watertight. So if some holes haven't been drilled, that is why. It's to basically make sure that we can actually get a nut behind them and the clamping can be done as needed. So now what we're going to do is going to undo everything that we've done here, and then I will see you back at the other end, and we'll talk you through actually how we're now going to fit this, which is actually a lot quicker process than drilling it out. This took about, at an estimate, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. Did take regular breaks, a bit of a warm day, so just making sure that we're taking regular breaks so that we don't absolutely sweat to death up here. So yeah, that's what we're going to see now. So now that we have drilled all those holes and gone through all those drill bits, we are now at the point where we can fit it. So as you might be able to see, this is kind of a little, we're going to go through a little bit more of the setup than we did last time. On those doors you can see I've got some channels, and surprisingly enough, not some channels, I've got some clamps creating like a channel that this can, you know, rest upright in, because what happens is, because it's quite flexible, as you've seen, we put mastic on the back here, so there is two lines of mastic on the back here, and it's like a mastic tape, and it has paper on each side, so when it comes off the roll it's got paper on each side. So taking one line of paper off, but the other line of paper is still on. So basically it won't stick to those clamps, it won't stick to the body side, and as we are exactly at the point when we are ready to put on a section, we will peel that tape back, line it up in this section, do up that section, move on, and so on and so forth. And as we get closer to a channel that's holding it upright, obviously once the gutter's on, it holds itself upright anyway. Once we get closer to that, it keeps it from touching the body side, gives us a bit of room to work in peeling that tape off, and you know, gives us, like, basically it's not all one piece, it's clamped on. We can actually move it. I can shift it this way, I can shift it that way, because it will slide on top of the doors. And as we get closer, we take off a set of clamps, and then you go along until you've got no more clamps left. As you can see probably in that middle one, surprisingly enough, this exerts quite the force in trying to roll itself over, because you put it on its edge and it just wants to lay flat. So on that middle clamp, just put a couple of rope ties around it. If I had zip ties would be really useful for it, because easily disposable and nice and adjustable. But we haven't got any zip ties lying around, so we used a little bit of rope, just a couple of turns, just to pretty much stop the jaws from opening, and then letting this kind of flatten out. So that is why that one has got that on it. But yeah, you know, I mean, you see there's a couple of G clamps. You can do them with any clamps as long as you can get enough force to hold it upright. So yeah, what you're going to see now is you're going to see, you know, 300 bolts go in, and yeah, so you know, and the reason we do it like this is just because
it is flexible enough where we don't have to put it on like one long straight section, which would be quite difficult, especially to get all these holes lined up right, especially as, you know, the mastic is now in the way of pretty much all the holes. So getting the lineup correct is quite difficult. So yeah, we're going to probably spend another day doing this because yeah, as far as timelines go, about a day to drill the holes. Actually about half a day, to be fair. We had half a day yesterday doing them from about 2 o'clock till we finished. So and probably about half a day to do this. So if you were really efficient, you could do this all in one day. But yeah, so we'll see how much we can get done with obviously regular breaks. It's quite a warm day today, so yeah, let's get on with it. So there you have it. Finally, a day and 300 holes later, we are here, we've done it. So next steps for this is this mastic, you can see it squeezed out. Next steps for this is in a couple of weeks, we'll come along and we'll trim it. Reason for a couple of weeks is it's kind of a mastic that kind of sets a little bit. So for about 2 weeks, it's pliable, a bit more pliable than when it is, after the 2 week period. Still does have that flex in it, but it's just, give it a couple of weeks to squeeze out, find its home as it were, and then we'll trim it. And then the last thing to do with this is we're going to run a bead of mastic on the inside, on the edge where it joins the roof line. That is just, extra security measure. You throw enough stuff at the wall, some of it's going to stick, kind of philosophy on that. Not that it needs it, but peace of mind. If we're here, we're going along it, we might as well do it. Can't harm anything. So yeah, that's what needs to be done here. We also need to do the joins on these, and then the 2 joins that remain, and then we can paint it, with the rest of the unit. Don't know if that'll get done this episode or not, but when it does get done, we will most likely film one of them. As for what is coming next, I have, now that I've decided to, put myself through a lot of pain with this, and also put the tools through a lot of pain. Side note, if you've got an impact driver or you're using impact drivers for this, let them cool down every now and then, because there's a lot of work for them to be doing. If you've got another one, brilliant, cycle them in and out, let one cool down. Because this is a fairly old impact driver of mine, but when she got hot, due to it being used over this life, which is like 8 years now, basically the hammer mechanism on it started to stick as it got hot, and then the motor didn't like that. So I had to take it apart, do a little bit of preventative maintenance. Occasionally you need to do these with tools, which works fine now, but a lesson that we've learned is just alternate. I think with the other gutter, we did it over more of a longer time period, so tools didn't get too hot. But even with one that Michael's originally got, even that's getting hot. So it's not just a old tool thing. Just, once it gets hot to the touch and like, it's about as hot as your radiator wants to be kind of thing, then switch them around. But just kind of if you're thinking of trying to do this in a day, you're most likely going to blow up a tool. Maybe get yourself one of the small 3/8 drive or small 1/2 drive impact wrenches for this. You might be fine. So the more you do it, the better you get. So quick interjection to whatever you're watching. Hopefully it's entertaining. I know it'll be entertaining. I edited this video. That could really backfire. So we've got a 4-character route indicator. As you can see, you probably would have seen it in the last video. I lit it up from the back with a couple of torches, So kind of give it that vibe. If you would like to donate and you want to see your impact in a video, then we're open to suggestions of go to PayPal, give us a £5 donation and put in what head code you want. Kind of if you want to see where you're, you want to see something go, I did that. Putting it can be as ridiculous as you want. Second digit is, you can have an O as a second digit, so you can get like a 4-digit number, providing that you've got there's 0 in the second digit because the O looks like a 0. But yeah, we're open to any suggestions. At the end of this video, it'll be 1.17, because why not? So sorry for all you people. You put whatever number in you want, 1.127, get creative with it. And then as they come in, it will be kind of a first come, first served base. So the first donation we get in, we will put their head code up. And we will aim to put that in the thumbnail, and we'll also aim to put it in the end, and we'll aim to keep it current with the filming that goes on. So if there's a shot far away, that head code will be in. Obviously, we're getting close to the end of 51412. So, there might only be 3, 4, 5 videos where we've got a head code here, because obviously we hope to move on to bigger pastures, Lazarus, as she will be known. So if you want to donate, you can do that. And also, whenever somebody does donate, we do tell you where that money goes, because we feel that that is part of, if you donate, like, where has it gone? Immediately we'll tell you where we've allocated that, whether it be steel, whether it be paint, whether it be, there are so many important components. I had to go to China I didn't go to China. I had to reach out to a Chinese manufacturing company to get the corridor springs made. More coming up on that in the next episode about all the corridor components and how surprisingly difficult it is to get something that was mass produced, years and years and years ago today. So, yeah, and if you feel like you would like to volunteer, then get in touch because, manpower, like the biggest thing with this is not money, it's manpower, because there's only so much we can do. Obviously, all the cogs need to be lubricated, so all are almost as important as each other, but without people doing it, nothing's going to get done. You could be sitting on the lottery and you still wouldn't get it done. So yeah, quick interjection. In the next episode, I'll have a little bit more on that. But yeah, so get in touch. First come, first served. Drop us a £5 donation in PayPal. We really would appreciate it, as that's what we want to do. If for whatever reason we aren't able to include your head codes, what we'll do is we've got a 4-character route indicator for 370 as well. So at the point where we get to this, we will continue going down that list. So we really appreciate if you're able to give anything. We know there are lots of railways struggling, and this is another money pit, as it were. So we really appreciate your help. So yeah, let's get on with some more hard and exciting work.
Right guys, so as you all have seen, we've got the window fitted next to me, so that means all the windows are now back in this unit. Got a nice little clip on that, talking about how it was installed and what rubbers we use, etc. The gutter above my head is now firmly in place, and it has been welded at both ends, so the gutter is now continuously from here all the way around the front, around the other side to the opposite corner behind me. So that's another job ticked off the list. The back is obviously now in blue, and the buffer beam has had quite a lot of attention as well, just waiting on its final black gloss now to really bring it out to life.
So yeah, really now getting to the point where we're on almost housekeeping duties really. We're very close to the end of this. Probably got a couple more episodes. Next episode you're gonna see Michael suffer for most of it with all this sanding. On this side not so much, because he has actually learned, you can tell as you go through 64 foot, it goes from absolute amateur to novice, and then from this it starts getting into more of a professional finish. So hopefully on the next 128 feet we'll be somewhere close to perfection. But obviously as you get close to perfection, it moves further away from you. But yeah, so that's next episode. We'll also get this gutter in blue. That'll be really nice. We'll probably also get some of the corridor components together, and then hopefully then be ready to fit, not in that episode, but then the episode after. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to, housekeeping duties as it is. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see the next video, then subscribe so you don't miss out on that, as we've got a few other exciting videos coming up that we've got in the works. So hopefully if it all pans out, you're going to want to be seeing that as soon as that comes out, because that should be some good content for you guys. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next very exciting video.